All right, so we're going to go over the steps for solve by factoring. So it says the first thing you're going to do is set it equal to 0. There's lots of reasons why you have to set it equal to 0. I'll give you a couple of different examples to make sure that you understand setting it equal to 0. Then we're going to factor it. Then we're going to use ZPP. That's the shortcut for zero product property. As we do it, I'll explain the zero product property. Step number 4 is solved, and step number 5 is graph. So let's start by setting it equal to 0. So when they give us an equation, a function, it doesn't matter if it's a y equals or if it's f of x equals, we can't factor it until it's set equal to 0. So you can stick a 0 in the place of that y, and because that should kind of make sense, because what are we looking for? We're looking for x-intercepts, and x-intercepts are points that are on the x-axis. What do you know about points that are on the x-axis? They have a y value of 0. So when we're looking for x-intercepts, it should make sense to plug in 0 for y. That's why we set it equal to 0. And then we're just going to do x squared minus 3x minus 18. This is an easy trinomial, so you should recognize that we're going to do a factor sum table. So factor sum, we need factors of negative 18, and they need to have a sum of negative 3. So you're just randomly thinking of numbers that multiply together to give you negative 18, positive 2 and negative 9, or negative 2 and positive 9. Those multiply together to give me negative 18. But I don't think they're going to be our answer, because if you find the sum of those, that's going to be negative 7, and that's going to be positive 7. And we're looking for a negative 3 right here. So I need to think of other factors of 18, 3 and 6. So I could use a positive 3 and a negative 6, or a negative 3 and a positive 6. Let's check those sums. This will have a sum of negative 3. This will have a sum of positive 3. So this is the pair that I want right there. Then I leave the 0 where it is, and I rewrite the standard form quadratic in factored form. X is going to go at the beginning of each one of these. Because this was a positive 3 and a negative 6, I am going to write down a positive 3 and a negative 6 in here. That will ensure that when I multiply those two out, I get the correct product. A positive 3 times a negative 6 gives me negative 18, and I get a sum. A positive 3 and a negative 6 give me a sum of negative 3. So I finished step 1. Step 2, I'm now going to use the zero product property. The zero product property says when you multiply two things together, like we're doing right here, we're multiplying x plus 3 times x minus 6, and the answer is 0. What must be true about one of those numbers? If you multiply two things together and you get 0 for an answer, you should know that one of the numbers has to be a 0. So the zero product property says that since these two things right here are being multiplied together, because that's the symbol right there, and the 0 is the answer, then one of these numbers, it might be the x plus 3 number, it might be the x minus 6 number, but one of those is equal to 0. So we set them both equal to 0, and then we do step number 4 up here, which says solve. And we just do the opposite, get the x by itself. So what do I do to get the x by itself? I do minus 3 minus 3. X equals minus 3 plus 6 plus 6. And I do x equals positive 6. So that means that on my graph, because that says what we're supposed to do next, on my graph, I am going to have an x value, or an x-intercept, at negative 3, and I'm going to have one at positive 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should have given myself a piece of graph paper. I will probably before the next example. What else do I know about this? This is look and know information. Oh my goodness, I have a y-intercept at negative 18. So way down here is my y-intercept. I can also do negative b over 2a and find my vertex if I needed to. I know that it's opening up because my a value is positive, so I know it's opening up. But with these 3 points right here, I really have enough information. Oh my God, that's so bad. Drawing on this tablet is super hard. But I really have enough information to get a decent graph drawn. This is -3 and this is +6. You could just count and find the middle, the axis of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So at 4.5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So right there between 1 and 2 is where my vertex is. Oh Lord, that looks like I'm drunk driving. So anyway, my axis of symmetry would be right there. I could, now that I have the x value for this axis of symmetry, I could plug it in and find the y value for the vertex, and then I could find the mirror image, and if I had a piece of graph paper, I probably would. But the thing that I want you to be sure that you understand is how you can find the x-intercepts. And then be sure you plot them and how you can put that together with all the other pieces of information and answer all of the questions that we've learned to answer about parabolas, including in behavior, intervals of decrease, intervals of increase, vertex, axis of symmetry, all of that you should be able to answer. This part right here, though, we're just focusing on finding the x-intercepts.